hello, Supercut. At this point, for you guys, you're going to be jumping all the way back to week 1. You can jump all the way, come forward. Hello!
Am I not connected to you?
Your mic's on, but you can use your phone for your camera.
Oh, I guess. It'll just look awful.
It's going to look awful.
We're struggling today.
I got stuck at work a little longer than planned. But I am here. Justin's going to be joining in on camera. You can hear him at the moment.
Hello.
We do have a short time. We have an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, so we can do this if we're going to be on time.
I don't think we're going to be that long.
I don't think so either. There's not a lot to talk about, but the first 2 episodes, but we do have things to talk about of it. Pros and cons, at least on my side. Justin shot me as soon as he finished watching them.
Oh my god.
He was stoked. He was
I'm over the moon right now, George.
I know. I saw your post. I'm not quite as hyped as he is about it. However, I'm going to throw this right here at the beginning of it. This is a Disney Plus show I actually would recommend to others, which is
a lot from George.
A lot. There's not many shows on Disney Plus that I don't even think he would recommend.
I recommend based off of person's interests.
I based on quality.
Yeah.
Like The Acolyte. The Acolyte I won't recommend anyway. No offense to The Acolyte, but it was not very good. But how are you doing over there?
I'm logging in
because I'm stalling.
I know.
Well, you can start while you're logging in. Do you want to do the recap of the 2 episodes, or recap of episode 1? Let's go 1 episode at a time, then we'll do the overall.
So, kicks off. Peter waking up, goes to school, and Doctor Strange fights a symbiote alien. Why can't I join? Enter studio. Okay. Oh my god. Fights a symbiote alien. And it comes out of a portal, and that portal is the portal that our spider comes out of and bites Peter. And we skip, 4 months? 5 months? Somewhere around there.
I don't think it says.
It does.
Oh, well,
It does, because that's when the prequel comic takes place, is in that 4 or 5 month gap.
Gotcha. Because see, I must have missed that part when, I mean, again, I was watching but not able to watch directly, but I watched enough to have an opinion.
Okay. Go on.
Good. I mean, that there's not much that really happens in the first episode. There's just a lot of setup for how the series is going to go.
Yeah.
It is needed. It is a needed episode. However, mute your phone.
I did it. Did I fix it? Okay. That looks awful.
However, there are problems still with the first episode, in my opinion. So, when looking at the first episode, there are some scenes that the animation and fluidity of the animation work really, really well. And there's some scenes it works really poorly. And for example, one of the scenes is straightforward, in my opinion. When Peter Parker goes to hug Aunt May, and it really feels like I was watching a buffering screen of them trying to move. Normally, if you're going to do that close of movement in animation, you add extra cells in there just to help smooth it a little bit. And it almost feels like, for whatever reason, they cut cells out of that section, which is odd. That is one of my complaints.
I can see that. I think that's valid.
Another complaint, there are certain shots where it feels like Peter is moving faster than the rest of the world. And again, that goes back to some of the background stuff.
Is that specifically the swinging compilations?
It's a couple of them.
Because
wonky.
I feel that too, but I think that's just the choice of the art style.
Yes, but at the same time, it's still a
negative thing. Yeah,
it's still a negative thing. Like, again, I'm going to be honest. A lot of this is going to be nitpicking.
A lot of it is nitpicking because
the show is good.
There isn't a lot of negative to talk about.
Yeah. I will say his chase for I think this version of a Mary Jane. He shouldn't be chasing the babysitter.
Yeah, it's weird.
He's got the goth girl right there. He shouldn't be chasing the
She's
babysitter. I figured that out later on in the episode. But
as much as I would want it, it won't happen. Let's see what else.
I think the introduction of his spider powers weak
because they want you to read the comics.
Well, no, but what I mean by that is, in most of the other versions, at least the versions I've ever read of Spider-Man or watched of Spider-Man, usually the spider has something to do with a lab or something he's working on.
Okay, that's what you mean.
Instead of this one, it's just he fell through a portal, landed on Peter's neck, and bit him.
Yeah.
It's a very weak premise for how he gets the ability.
I'm curious, since we now know that there are going to be multiple seasons, if we're going to explore that later on. I mean, and that's why it's left ambiguous now.
We might, but that was just one of those things that to me, the first episode, yeah, they're trying to still get you fast into it. It's an origin episode. It is establishing this universe, Peter.
Yeah.
And to me, that was kind of a weak part. And then full on X-Name, but not X-Name Uncle Ben was kind of a weak part of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree with that.
In every version that we get of Uncle Ben, of course, we don't always have Uncle Ben. In every version we get of Uncle Ben, he's the one who establishes Peter on the very much right path, and the with great power comes great responsibility line. It's such an impactful scene, and it's really what drives Peter Parker to be the best person he can be. And in this case, it's just thanks May for being there when Ben passed. We don't know why he passed. We don't know how he passed.
Yeah.
He's passed. And thank you for being there and supporting me, which is good. Support your children or the kids you are watching. However, to me, that was weak. That didn't help it too much.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's really all.
That's really it.
In episode 1. Episode 1, again, it's a very light episode, but it's a very needed episode. Those are just the nitpicks of it. Anything to add or
to add on and kind of I guess add on. You can feel how much this was supposed to initially be the MCU prequel show still in its DNA.
Yeah.
Because it, for all intents and purposes, is just a branch off the MCU. Where's the branch? We don't know. But it is a branch off the MCU because they are hearkening back to a lot of Civil War in these first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Is the van and the bus, is that in the first episode or is that in the second episode?
What do you mean?
Where he stops the van from hitting the bus.
That is, I want to say that's the first.
I think so.
I want to say it's the first. I think because the big action that happens in the first, spoiler warning if we haven't already spoiled things, which we have.
Yeah. But if you've seen any of the marketing, you would know this.
The 2 big things is the fight with the 3 guys.
Yes.
And I believe it's the van.
Okay.
I think that's the main action that happens.
Yeah.
There
isn't a lot in this one. No. There is a next episode. We're going to get a villain of the week type show, and I'm A-okay with that.
It is exactly what it looks like.
I'm A-okay with that. But specifically the way that he stops the van from hitting the bus is exactly what happens in Civil War. You just see a clip of it from a YouTube video.
Yeah.
But it's exactly how it happens in Civil War. And the finale of episode 1 is a 1-for-1 recreation of Peter's introduction in Civil War. Except instead of Tony Stark, it's Norman Osborn. It is a 1-for-1 reconstruction.
Yeah.
I'll show you the clip later.
Which was interesting of how we brought Norman into it. It's a totally different way of bringing Norman into it, but
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it. It didn't bug me.
It's unique enough to keep me interested and not, oh, it's this again. But it's familiar enough that I'm like, I'm comfy with this, you know? Because it reminds me a lot of like Insomniac Spider-Man, how he mentors under Otto Octavius.
Okay.
It reminds me a lot of that. And that was really good.
Yeah.
So when we get Goblin, it's gonna go insane. So I'm excited for it.
Do we get Goblin this season?
Not this season. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think this season.
Well, I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Back to me. What's going on?
Episode 2.
Episode 2 is like our introduction to form. I don't remember how it starts. Oh yeah, Peter Parker things. That's another thing this show gets great is Peter Parker. Because he gets paired up with Lonnie. And then it's like half and half. It's 50% Spider-Man, 50% Peter Parker.
They do spend a good chunk of time with Peter. I can't evaluate Peter yet. From what we have, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
But I can't evaluate Peter
Okay,
yet.
but comparatively to other Spider-Man animated shows?
I mean, comparatively to other Spider-Man, to me, in my opinion, Tom Holland, Peter Parker is not a very good Peter Parker.
We don't get a lot of it.
Well, we don't, but that might be more for the benefit is kind of where I'm leaning on that.
I get what you're saying. But
I mean, Tobey Maguire is still the best Peter Parker.
Sure. But you see a lot of the struggle of him juggling Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the second episode. Like, that's the whole Peter Parker plot.
No, yeah.
Is that he has too much on his plate, but Spider-Man calls, so he just does Spider-Man things. He starts his internship at Oscorp.
Yep.
And has to leave in the middle of it to do a Spider-Man thing where he fights what was his name? He's unnamed in the show, but he has a subtitle and a credit name.
Yeah, it's Pyro.
No.
I'm pretty sure it's
Pyro. It starts with a B, I think.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Pyro.
Look it up.
Because I went ahead and I was watching it through Disney Plus.
I don't think it's Pyro.
And I had subtitles.
Pyro wouldn't make sense because Pyro would be the mutant. But anyways, it's a guy with flamethrowers on his wrists, and he's hired to burn down a specific apartment complex. Yada yada yada. Jargon. Spider-Man fight ensues. Peter's still getting hang of his spider powers and kicks him a little too hard out of the building and into a pet shop. And I love this fight, George. I love the pet shop fight so much because this is just a guy roid raging with flamethrowers in a pet shop full of live pets. And Peter's just running around saving the pets from the fire while he's still fighting the guy. And I think that's so funny.
Keep going.
You're almost there. I see it. But he ends up defeating him by pulling a fish tank over his head. Which...
Butane.
Sorry. Butane. Which is an awesome fire villain name. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
His design's pretty cool, too. It's, like, very garage workshop-ish. Which is, like, what it should feel like, in my opinion. Where was I? Oh yeah, he pulls a fish tank over his head, puts out his fire, and knocks him out. And then Peter starts freaking out because he doesn't want to be a fish murderer because there were fish in the fish tank, so he starts running around picking up the fish, which I think is funny. Are we back?
Should I try one? Well, barely.
Don't try.
I was trying to pull up at least a couple of scenes of that fight, but yeah, no, apparently not.
Yeah.
Your problems with this episode?
With the second episode? Not a lot.
Well, but that means there's something.
None, actually.
None?
None for the second episode. You see how hard he's trying to find one?
Yeah, well, because I'm trying to be actually critical of it, but no, actually, you may be right. I mean, it's interesting seeing the different character dynamics that they're going with on this one, because Lonnie was the name, yeah?
Yeah. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
Don't look it up.
Okay. I don't remember.
Don't look it up.
But it's so interesting seeing how much different of a background of where he's coming from compared to Peter. I'm assuming that it's going to play later on more into it, because
you get a little snippet of him after school going home.
Correct. And I don't remember who he is, but I believe he becomes a villain.
For the sake of spoilers, will not answer.
I know, and I respect that. No, there really isn't much wrong with this episode, in my opinion.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. We get to see they do a really good job of balance of Peter, and because we get a lot of time of
You're
Peter.
You're thinking about it now, right? It's good.
There's a lot of time of Peter, but the little bit of time of Spider-Man is really good. Spider-Man,
really good Spider-Man. No, this show is okay. So my lead up to this show, we had initially heard about it like 2 years ago. It fell off the radar. At D23 last year, me and Jordan saw a little clip, actually a big clip. They showed us like 5 minutes of footage of a fight scene from later on in the season. And it might be the next episode, actually. And then they talked about it a lot. And like from everything I was hearing, it was pretty good, but I was still skeptical about it because the art style was wonky.
Yeah.
Which I'll get into that after this. But so for the past month, I've been excited but hesitant but very hopeful. I bought this shirt out of fear that if I missed it and the show was good, I was never going to be able to get the shirt. And I'm so glad I did now. But the art style, I think it's a lot like Spider-Verse, which you wouldn't know yet.
I wouldn't know yet.
In the sense that, yes, the art style is weird and different and kind of hurts your eyes a little bit. But when you watch more than 10 minutes at a time, you get used to it. You don't even notice that it's wonk anymore.
I wouldn't.
In my opinion, the Spider-Man scenes,
are better.
It's specifically the Peter Parker scenes where you have unmasked characters. And like the shape of the heads.
Because to me, Peter's design overall is very well done. Even no matter whichever Spider-Man or Peter Parker, the design of it's very well done. He looks very good. The shading is very sharp. It looks very good.
Yeah.
However, like episode 1, the first time we see him running down the street, he passes by a white dude. I'm just going to call it straightforward. He's a white dude. No name because he's just a side character. There's not a need to name every character. He looks like a ghost because of the way the shading is. Because they did not do any shadows or anything under.
That is a criticism. He just has
a quick little line, and so you look, you're like, oh, you are legitimately just a white ghost standing here in the corner.
That is a criticism I saw online when they released a clip earlier this week, that background characters are like so low detailed and unmoving.
Well, he's not even necessarily a background character. Like we have the scene set up. He's coming straight down the street. He's one of the characters right there next to Peter Parker.
Is he animated?
No, he's just there.
That's what I'm talking about. That is a valid criticism that I see. I was like, of the show.
Did I really just see an unrendered section of this? Like, because it's so off-putting.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking the frame, okay, and we got something in the main forepart of the frame that we're focused on, that should have life. I wouldn't be as concerned and as bothered if, let's say, he was across the street and down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, frankly enough, my eyes shouldn't be pulled to that corner. They should be pulled to the action. The fact that he is pretty much a still figure who looks like a ghost, who's clearly just a person, existing in the main action part of the frame, it's off-putting. It doesn't flow right.
No, yeah, I think that's valid.
And there are in episode 2 some scenes of it, but there are a lot less scenes with extra characters. So it's hard for me to pull an example from there because there aren't as many to pull from.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Osborn knowing who Spider-Man is from the get-go, I'm not sure I like that idea.
A lot of people weren't.
We'll see how that goes, because to me it's so much better when the Goblin doesn't know and he spends so much of his going into a like manic episode when he's going into crazy Goblin mode of him spending time trying to figure out who the Spider is and him just knowing from the get-go. I don't know.
We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see how it plays out.
I'm skeptical of that one.
Understandable.
No, I mean, overall good. Episode 1 out of 5.
Out of 5, I'd give it a 4.
I was at a 3.5, so that checks out. So
yeah.
let me mark our tallies. Episode 2, unbiased episode 2.
I'm gonna go with a 5. I'm gonna go with a 5.
Okay. Unbiased, I'm at about a 4. It's a very solid and really a very good episode. And it's a good establishment episode still for building the universe. But it's not perfect yet, which is fine. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're only on episode 2.
I didn't say golden banana. It's 5 regular bananas.
So, I mean, let's see. Out of 10, that's an average of 8.25.
Debuted this morning with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What is it right now?
When I checked later on, it was at 100 still. The audience went down a little bit.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, there's more ones on.
Friendly. Go for it.
Your Friendly Neighborhood. Thank you. What do you think of the opening?
It's an okay tune. I'm not exactly crazy about, like, it feels like they understand, people will understand the
60s.
The 60s aspect.
70s. I don't remember.
But I think it was 70s aspect of it. I just repeated the first, like, 3 lines of that phrase over and over again. Or but 3 words. And it kept feeling like it never went anywhere in that aspect of the music. And so that kind of bugged me as more of a music person and all that. The animation of it's really... The animation of the intro seems higher done than the show, which is odd.
But it changes.
It does change.
Like in the first episode, they hide Norman Osborn, and then in the second one, Norman Osborn's in the middle, and then your title cards are like comic pages. What's cool about the title cards, I thought it was just something for the first one, but they're doing it for all of them apparently. Is they're replicating a.
So 96 and 70.
All right. Okay.
Keep going. I'm looking at it.
They're replicating comic covers. So like the first one is obviously is Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
The second one was from an amazing comic from the 90s, I think. Look up Your Friendly Neighborhood title card, I think, is what will pull that up.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay. I'll show you later, because I can probably find it on my Twitter.
The 42 Marvel Easter eggs.
What?
Who would have guessed? First look opening titles, You're Friendly, that's on Reddit.
I like Spider-Man.
No.
I really like Spider-Man.
It doesn't matter. No, so overall, what did I say? We were at an 8.25 out of 10. That's all. That is a solid start. Agatha wasn't as high.
No.
And Agatha does not compete against this show, in my opinion.
No.
This show is so much better done.
Oh, yeah. If we were like reviewing back when X-Men came out, I think that would be a good comparison.
I'm curious though, budget. Do we know what the budget is?
I don't know.
Good. Spidey. That's Far From Home, MCU. It looks like nobody has at least figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it just came out, but
yeah.
It, based on the way the art style is and the animation of it, it seems like it's being done awfully cheap, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like, it's being done cheap enough that even if it doesn't get a ton of viewers, which is probably why it's already been greenlit for, 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
That they can actually afford to do that.
I would assume so, yeah.
So.
Also, their secondary character voice casting is like insane.
They've got some pretty good sides.
They got Kellen Goff, who did Freddy for the symbiote. Amadeus Cho was I don't remember. I think it was Roger Craig Smith, who does Sonic for the games.
Cast and crew, Seymour. So Hudson Thomas.
That's the guy that does
Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Eugene Bird does Lonnie.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
Eugene Bird. He did Go Away. He was a voice actor on Superman, Man of Tomorrow. He was in 8 Miles. I don't recognize most of these.
Okay.
So he's kind of just...
It's more so like the side characters that I'm talking about.
Grace Song does Nico.
Yeah. Which she isn't in a lot either.
A
lot of our
Rotten Tomatoes is empty, so...
Yeah, a lot of our main cast is like new people. Which I'm okay with.
Apparently, Hugh Dancy does Octo Octavius.
Okay, stop looking at Rotten Tomatoes, please. Because I didn't know we were getting Doc Ock.
Apparently we are. Yeah, there's not even much listed here on that side of it anyway. So, overall, good show.
Yeah.
I know others are going to talk about it. I'm curious. I'll listen to other podcasts and reactions to it. I'm curious where everybody else is going to come in at. I'm kind of looking forward to next week.
I'm really looking forward to next week. We're getting 3 episodes next week.
Yeah. It'll spread this out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But welcome to week 2 of reviewing Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This is going to be going over episodes 3, 4, and 5. And joining me this week, like every week, is the overly obnoxious Spider-Man fan, Justin.
We both respond.
We both
overly obnoxious. Excuse me. Sorry that I'm happy.
You were trying to plan a wedding around having Spider-Man there.
Yeah.
Anywho, we both did watch it. Watched it at different times, different places. We have not really talked about it. And the only thing that we both have talked about that I brought up was, again, my problem with this, and it's all stylistic. It's the artistic choice. My biggest problem I had in this week's episodes is there's a lot of close-up face shots while they're talking. And because of the animation style, the lips don't match what's being said, and it bugs me. That's just me nitpicking, though.
Nitpicking.
But we'll go ahead and we'll start with the synopsis, kind of, sort of episode 3. So, in Your Friendly Neighborhood... This is coming from Screen Rant, by the way. In Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, episode 3, Norman invites Peter to dinner, confirming he knows Spider-Man, that he wants to help him become a better hero, owing Peter a debt of gratitude after saving his son Harry. 2 criminals are introduced and dealt with in this one. Maria Tarantula, I think that's how you said it, Vasquez, And James Speed Demon Sanders purchased mysterious tech from a robotic dumpster bearing the same logo as the gloves worn by Butane in the previous episode. And Lonnie's brother, Andre, what?
My camera just changed.
Because it's using the full power of the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't that look much better?
Yeah.
And you can also now set your field to death. I believe in that too.
Okay, cool.
But Lonnie's brother, Andre, is caught up with the 110th Street Gang. In exchange for Andre being left alone, Lonnie joins the gang led by Big Donovan. You love this episode.
This one was good. This was the fight scene that we saw at D23.
I think the fight scene was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid.
I like that we're having an A and B plot now with Lonnie. Like, Lonnie is turning into his own plot for this show.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, because we're setting him up for his villain arc.
Yep.
Which we'll get to. We get his name later on.
Yep.
As soon as the name was set, I'm like, that's who you're going to be.
Yep.
It was a good fight, but besides that, there's not really much in this episode besides, again, Lonnie becoming part of the gang.
Yep.
Oh, that's one thing I need to pull up.
You tripping?
I need. Was it spreadsheet 3? It was spreadsheet 3. Spreadsheet 3.
There you go.
This episode, what would you give it?
I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually right where I was thinking at.
Yeah.
It's solid. It's not as good as we've had, but it's solid. Though I've never ranked higher than a 4 so far, so.
Yeah.
Then in episode number 4, Peter and Dr. Connors are working on a magnetic generator before he's called up to Norman's office. After Peter briefly meets Harry, Norman gets down to business and lays out his vision for what he believes could be a better generation of heroes compared to the current ones, where Spider-Man is essentially becoming the foundation for the future, quote unquote. Norman and Peter try several different iterations of the new suit before landing on a primarily white costume with red and blue accents. Lonnie gets caught between the 110th Street Gang and their rivals, the Scorpions, led by Camilla Black and Mac Gaggan, sorry.
Mac Gorgon.
Okay.
He's important.
Okay. This is going to... Dimitri... I'm not going to try the last names. So Dimitri, Mikhail, Roxana are caught and arrested while their partner Mila escapes, purchases high-tech weaponry from none other than Otto Octavius.
What?
Harry Osborn discovers that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I got comments on this one. What is your thoughts of this episode?
That's right. I don't like a lot of the. Well, I like it. Okay, get to yours first.
My first gripe was I don't like that Otto is just starting as a villain. I like all the different arcs where he is not necessarily a villain. He's just more so a scientist who's pushing more and more. And it's his pursuit for better knowledge and such that leads to an accident that causes him to become a villain. Because Otto is never really a bad guy until an event happens. Where in this case, they're just like, you just want to be recognized. So obviously you're going to sell high tech in the black market.
Unless that event's already happened, we just don't see it.
But again, that just, it means we're losing a part of his story unless we get it later. I can only judge what we've seen. I was not crazy for the Rhino helmet.
That's not the Rhino.
You sure?
I'm positive. Because the name is called the Unicorn. The name of the episode is the Unicorn.
I get what the name, because that's what she calls it. But I almost want to say
it's not the Rhino.
You don't think so?
I'm 100% positive.
Okay. To me, Mikal sounds more like the Rhino, and
His design looks like the Rhino. I don't remember what the Rhino's name is. I'm gonna pull it up right now.
because to me, I was seeing it more going that way, and that being coming later on the helmet of it. This episode was
What was his name?
Mikal.
Yeah, that's not his name.
What?
That's not the Rhino's name.
What's the Rhino's name?
Alexi, which I thought that was his name. Mikal. How do you spell that?
Mikahail.
Hail. Migalai, you mean? Mikhail?
Mikal.
Mikhail, what's the last name?
SY
S-Y.
TS
T-S.
EV
E-V.
ICH.
I-C-H.
Because remember, we've already seen some characters being changed to who they are.
Yeah.
So this may be this version of the Rhino.
I think you're right.
Because the look of him matches, and the helmet looks a lot like how the Rhino helmets.
Oh, that spoils it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just saw it there. So
Yeah. Keep talking. Sorry.
I think this episode was actually the weakest of the three this week.
Middle one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much, in my opinion, filler of this episode of us just watching Spider-Man try different suits. And haha, funny stuff. He can't do this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why do I care?
Yeah.
Like, if we had gone through like the first episode of Spider-Man trying all these different suits, trying to figure out who he was, that'd be one thing because we're establishing who the Spider-Man is. But we're episode at this point 4 out of 10 episodes, so we're just over a third of the way through. He knows who he is. I get it's supposed to be Osborn trying to help him become the better version of himself, but that plot I didn't care for.
Yeah.
Any input besides
No. You got it.
your criticism or pauses of the episode?
I feel like we spend. It's like the whole episode was just made to get to the suit, and then we get to the suit, and we have like a lackluster fight because we spent the whole episode getting to the suit. And I think the suit looks awful, but that's just my opinion.
I'm not crazy for the suit.
I wish if we were getting. It's a Future Foundation suit. Everybody knows what it is. It's the Future Foundation suit. They just changed the colors on it, and they gave him a belt. If they were doing that, either just give us the Future Foundation suit. I can't talk. Or make the lenses blue. Because why are the lenses black when the rest of the suit is blue? Because on the Future Foundation suit, all the blue parts are black. So it matches the lenses. But the lenses are stark black with the blue. It looks ugly. I don't like it.
On top of that, being that this is a new series, and the idea is you're going to try to make some new fans with the series, I think it's too soon to stray so far from the spider suit.
We know this isn't the last suit he gets, though.
Well, no.
We know he gets the classic suit. So,
but I get that, but
in my eyes, the homemade suit is the suit for the series. That's how I see it.
I see that as the suit to start, but I felt that by the end of this episode that they should have already moved away from the color scheme and gone to the classic coloring.
Yeah.
Because that's what a kid's going to go buy at Target. They're not going to go to the store and look for, the special version white and black suit.
Yeah.
A collector will.
Yeah.
Which cool.
Like I would.
But
I don't like the suit. I'll still buy it,
Correct. But an actual kid who's going to go and actually buy it.
Just wait for the classic, bro.
They're looking for blue.
Just wait for the classic.
Yeah. Your vote on this one.
This is like a 3.
Glad you said that, because I was like a 3 or 2.7.
Not a 3. It's still good. It's just weaker compared to the other episodes.
Yeah.
It's still a good episode. Like, we haven't had a bad episode
yet. Yeah. So.
Episode 5.
That was 5.
No.
No.
That was 4.
That was 4. This is 4. You're right.
Yeah.
So, in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man episode 5, it's confirmed that Otto is selling his inventions to criminals wanting recognition for his work and believing he's as smart as Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, or Norman Osborn. Norman decides to make Harry an official part of Team Spider-Man to serve as Peter's dude at the desk when Norman is unavailable. Lonnie is struggling to make it to football practices due to his time now with the 110th. Harry and Peter start bonding and becoming friends as the unicorn Mila breaks her fellow Russian thugs out. But Spider-Man arrives. Mikhail is the only one who stays with Mila. Meanwhile, the 110th brawls with the Scorpion and saves Big Donovan is saved by Lonnie. Spider-Man saves Mikhail when the unicorn uses him as bait, prompting Mikhail, aka, no, we're not going to go into that. Well, we just discussed it.
Yeah.
So, aka the Rhino, to take Mila's helmet and spare Spider-Man's life before both he and Mila are arrested. While Nico was hoping to just see a movie with Peter, Peter invited Harry to come. Impressed by his bravery and saving his life, Big Donovan gives Lonnie the new nickname Tombstone. This was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, this is a good episode. I like this one.
I get now. I found out later on that he was going to be Tombstone. I get why they're kind of railroading him and forcing him now down this road. Which is kind of a bummer because I was kind of hoping it was going to be a like redemption story on him, like the family, who's having the hardest luck and such.
Yeah.
And he was going to be the one to go ahead and bring the family up and out of it. And now it's just he's going to become a crime lord.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I wish we would have kept going the other route. Though we don't know where the story's going. It's possible maybe Spider-Man does change it.
Sometimes Tombstone is like neutral.
Yeah, so
it depends. Yeah,
we'll have to wait to see on that. I was very confused by Nico's reaction when Peter shows up with Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Since again, as far as the show has let on to believe that she is, gay, but seems like she was hoping for like prior to Lone Time.
Friends with him.
Well, no, I get that, but it seems more like the way I read the character. It seems more like she was disappointed because she was hoping for like Alone Time, like a date.
I didn't read that at all.
You didn't read it that way?
No.
That's the way I read it. Because she takes the time and she kind of like looks down at her locket, like she either really wanted to just have something to tell him or something, but now this all interrupted it.
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't read it that way at all.
Okay. I mean, that's the way I read it, but again, we don't know where the story is going. Harry was kind of annoying in the episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And I'm curious to see how they take the Scorpion, because the Scorpion in this episode, I was just like, when they finally revealed who the Scorpion was, I was like, you don't really look like the Scorpion yet.
Yeah, he does.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe just the version I'm thinking he just doesn't.
What version are you thinking?
I don't know. He didn't look like it to me.
No, he looks like the Scorpion to me.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I like this one.
You like this one?
I don't remember what Spider-Man fight there was. If there was a Spider-Man fight.
This is the Spider-Man.
Oh, this was the unicorn fight.
Yeah.
I like this one. Yeah, because that's what I was going to talk about. Like, it shows him being Spider-Man and always believing there's a second chance in people.
Yeah.
And I love that about the character so much. And like when he just jumps in front of the laser without thinking twice, I love that so much.
Well, and this was the episode that told me that Mikhail was Rhino.
Yeah.
Like, that's why when you were like, well, he's not Rhino, I'm like, I'm pretty sure he is, just because of the whole...
I thought you meant like the helmet.
Well, the helmet makes me think Rhino's helmet, but I don't know. But
yeah, he's going to be Rhino.
No, his whole statement of we're even at this. Next time I see you, I will crush you. I'm like, oh yeah, you're definitely Rhino.
Yeah. Also his design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one was good. I will say at the end of last week, I was more excited to see the following week. At the end of this week,
I'm so excited.
Like I'm still gonna finish it. I still want to see it, but it's not like last week where I'm ready to go.
They started with 2 really good episodes,
and this set of 3, like, they were solid.
Yeah,
but like the momentum like shifted.
I wonder if they're gonna drop a mid-season trailer now.
I mean, they could, because the last trailer we had pretty much only covers through this last fight.
Because you don't see anything. You barely saw the Oscorp suit.
Yeah.
In like the newer trailers. So like we could get a mid-season trailer.
It's possible.
Okay. We have to get scores first before I move on. I'm gonna go with a 3.5 on this one.
I was at a 3, so that sounds right.
Yeah. It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's pretty good.
It's not great. Get those down. So out of 10, that gives us an average. You want to guess?
We were at like what, 7.4 last week?
So out of 10, episode 1 was a 7.5.
Yeah.
Episode 2 was a 9.
Okay. So that was like an 8.4 then. We're probably now at like a 7.8.
7.4.
Yeah.
So it's still solid.
It's still good. I think it's really good. No, I'm not as high this week as I was last week. I think it was because like the buzz mostly. But like I'm still enjoying it.
No, I'm still enjoying it. We'll have to we'll definitely see where it goes.
It's Spider-Man. I'm going to consume it no matter what. So
I'm hoping, just because looking at this, I can see our trend is kind of going downward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that next week it's not going to be a super big jump, but there will be a boost coming up a little bit. In my opinion, the last 2 episodes should be the hype of the season.
It needs to be if it's going to say that title.
Yeah.
It needs to be if the title is This Be My Destiny. It needs to be.
So you made the comment we had to finish the
so second half of the season, speculation. I can say this now. We know the finale. I haven't saved it on my phone. Here, I'll pull up I think it's the finale. Is If This Be My Destiny.
Do we know if we get the Goblin this season?
That's what I was going to ask. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think because of how much they're building everything right now, and yes, Peter and Harry are becoming friends, but before the Goblin exists, Peter and Harry have to be like best friends. Because that's what leads to I can't remember.
Hobgoblin.
Yeah, Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin. You're right.
That's Ned Leeds.
Who Harry becomes.
Harry doesn't become anybody.
I thought.
It depends. Because sometimes Harry becomes Goblin.
Yeah.
So Harry could be Goblin and they could keep Norman. That'd be interesting.
Well, no, because in the arcs I always read, after Norman dies, Harry goes on the whole hunt to try to find Spider-Man, and stumbles upon the Goblin suit, and then takes up the mantle of the Goblin in honor of his father to try to take down the Spider.
I think you're thinking of Sam Raimi.
Well, no, he does it in that one too, but it was in I believe it was one of the arcs in the 70s. That was one of my more favorite arcs.
It would have been in the 80s.
Or 80s. So
it would have been the 80s.
It was an old arc.
So episode 6, Duel of the Devil. That's the Daredevil episode.
Yeah.
Episode 7 is Scorpion Rising. I assume that's when we'll see Matt Gargan in the Scorpion suit.
Yeah.
Tangled Web. That could mean anything.
Yeah.
Hero or Menace. Could see JJJ there.
I think at that point we would, since that was another thing I was going to bring up. So the Sokovia Accords happened.
Yes.
In this version, Spider-Man does not have anything to do with Civil
War.
War.
Correct.
Your thoughts on that?
I want to know where the split is. Because, like, obviously it's before Civil War. And, like, timeline-wise, it makes sense for it to happen now because this is like a week after Norman meets with him in the apartment. So, like, yeah, timeline-wise, this is about the same time. So I'm curious where the split is. You know?
I'm also curious in this version who technically all is there, because that kind of gives us an idea of who's splitting on what side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that also could lead to a potential quote-unquote villain.
But that's the other thing, is that because this is a different timeline, will it get passed or not? That's the other thing. So...
Well, but again, the Sokovia Accords, by the time the fights of Civil War happen, Sokovia Accords are always established.
Were they established by the time they fight?
Mm-hmm. Because that's the separation. Because Iron Man is trying to always convince everybody that they need to go and sign with the government because the accords are in place. It does not mean everybody has to is registered yet. It's that time period in between. While in a lot of cases, not always, in a lot of cases, Captain Rogers is making the fight that no, we don't need to sign with the government. We are protecting the world. It's not always Captain Rogers. I think in one is actually
it's got Marvel in Civil War 2. That's a different thing though.
That's a different thing. But
Reed Richards
does
Hank
it
Pym,
a couple times.
I only know that because I'm reading the Fantastic Four right now.
Hank does it a couple times. It changes who on that side does it. The only one who always agrees with not registering, but never is the one to lead it, is Thor. That's because Thor is never on Earth when it happens.
Yeah,
he always comes in later.
And then the final episode is If This Be My Destiny, which I know who the villain of that is. I don't know if you want me to spoil it.
You go for it.
It's Doc Ock.
Yeah.
So, like, it didn't surprise me that he was in this episode because, well, we knew about it because we found that Rotten Tomatoes post about it, and then if you're going to use that title, you're going to have Doc Ock.
Yeah. I kind of wish that, even though this is how more the MCU version went, I wish that it was more focused Vulture selling the tech, and we could have gotten Doc Ock somewhere in this time period as a good person, be it at Oscorp or whatnot, and shift. Be it that he buys tech from Vulture, and that's what goes wrong during his testing, or whatnot, opposed to us just getting, in my opinion, the ugliest villain suit in Spider-Man. I've hated in the gold classic.
I was gonna say this is extremely comic accurate. Be careful what you say.
It is completely comic accurate. I've never liked Dr. Ock's comic book version of his outfit.
The bowl cut and the big ass sunglasses.
It is god awful ugly every time.
It's so funny.
It is so bad.
I love it.
I don't know why that is always considered to be the correct decision of how to go forward.
Because it's the Kirby design, not Kirby, Ditko design.
Yeah, but like, I know it's not comic accurate, but look at the movie version, with him in a trench coat and such. To me, it looks so much better.
What was the final suit on Insomniacs?
Oh, I didn't get that far. I wouldn't be able to tell you. And you got to share it over.
Oh, how do I do it again? I figured it out.
Present.
There. Let me find a better photo. I'll put this. There you go.
Because like even that's better in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like that's still not great. But that's better than the like I've got a bowl cut from my mom, my big old sunglasses, and my green little tights. I've never understood this character design. And it bugs me that it continued into this. I know it's comic accurate. I appreciate the fact that
extremely comic accurate.
I appreciate the fact that they took that in consideration. But
don't look at that.
Because that showed all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. God, it's so bad. It's accurate, yes. I'd give them credit where credit is due. They kept to accuracy. There's times when we can update accuracy, though.
Yeah.
The character design since like the 80s has needed an update. Final thoughts? Nice little 30-minute review.
Yeah, it was short, sweet. I'm still excited. I still love it. It's still Spider-Man. So, yep. I like it.
I like it. We'll see where it goes.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm not as pumped. I feel like I just watched the original Spider-Man movies, movie number 2. That I'm really not sure where it's going to go. Hopefully, it doesn't go like like movie number 3.
Yeah.
Because as much as I like Tobey Maguire, movie number 3 was
overbloated.
Not good. Hello, and welcome to our Spider-Man review for episodes 6, 7, and 8. I'm here again as always, with my co-host Justin.
Hello.
You should be able to hear him. I'm pretty sure we did.
We didn't do a sound test. We were really late today.
I had to take care of some things, but we are here. It looks like, according to my mic and such, we're good. I did hear that we were running over there, so we should be fine. This was a good week of episodes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up,
especially the bottom end.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
So starting off, we're going to use again Screen Rant like we did last time for the synopsis. 1 second. Did I not attach the? I attached the thumbnail. Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah. No. Now we did. Look, we're like I said. Well, like Justin said, we're running a little behind on this one tonight. Again, I come straight home from work, and depending on how my meetings are going, depends on how fast I get here. And I got here a little late, and I had to fix something really fast before we could do anything. What's up?
Done.
Are you still looking at?
No, I'm not looking at Kingdom Hearts anymore.
Okay. So, episode 6. So Lonnie is put on academic probation due to all his time being spent with the 110. Peter gets paired off with Pearl as his new science partner. Peter tries to bond with Harry and Nico at his apartment. Norman attending a charity event for the Avengers Relief Fund meets with Secretary Ross, offering government contract and security upgrades in exchange for turning a blind eye to Spider-Man. Getting an alert while at the charity event, Norman has Peter check on a security breach at Oscorp, leaving Harry and Nico. Spider-Man finds Daredevil at Norman's computer. Fighting on the roof, Daredevil tells Peter that Osborn is hiding something. Harry accidentally reveals that Peter's secret identity, or Peter's secretly Spider-Man, to Nico. And then in I think then in the aftermath, no, that's in the next episode.
That's where it ends.
It ends with Nico finding out. This was a good episode.
Yeah.
Um, again, I don't like necessarily again the route that Lonnie's going on, or that they're writing him to go on. I think they're pushing too hard for him to have everything go wrong, but at the same time, it helps build for the villain he is going to be.
Yeah.
So I like it. This shows a lot. All honesty, this shows a lot more focus to Lonnie than it really is to Peter growing.
It's like an A and B plot, I think.
I think it is, but I think sometimes the B plot is stronger.
Yeah. There are certain episodes that the B plot is definitely stronger.
I love Daredevil's design in this episode, though.
It's just dark, so you just can't see his costume.
Well, yeah, but you still get like the
red accents and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Your thoughts of the episode?
It was alright. There wasn't a lot of Spider-Man stuff in all 3 of these episodes this week, except for next episode. Except for next episode, but like even then, it was only for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and like it was a Peter Parker heavy week, and I'm okay with that because they do Peter Parker really well. It makes me happy. You know?
No, I get you, and I agree. This was a good set of them. I need back the ish guy. I mean, on this episode, I'd give it a solid 4.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the Daredevil fight. To me, it was a fun fight.
Yeah, he still doesn't have a spider sense.
Correct.
Yeah, which if we're following MCU Spider-Man, it took him 2 years.
Well, after the next episode, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
You're out of 5 for the first
4.
A 4. Solid.
Yeah.
Episode 7. So, in the aftermath of Spider-Man's encounter with Daredevil, Norman reveals his history with Otto Octavius, who stole Oscorp's projects and took them underground for his own recognition. Norman believes Daredevil was hired on by Otto. Nico is hurt that Peter did not tell her that he was Spider-Man. The Scorpion finds the 110's safe house. Mag Garvin is given a brand new suit of armor from Otto Octavius. Norman is busy trying to track down Otto by scanning his unique energy signature from his tech, and Spider-Man starts tracking a gamma signature. Harry meets with Nico to try to smooth things over. The duo eventually start bonding and end up in a drag race with a hot rod. At the end of the drag race, Nico is protected by her amulet, which looks to contain some kind of magical power tied to her family history. Pearl comes to the 110 to confront Lonnie right as...
I'm listening.
Okay. Right as Gargan attacks in his new Scorpion armor, though Spider-Man soon arrives as well. Scorpion eventually gains the upper hand, overheating his armor before stabbing Spider-Man while Norman is distracted trying to locate Otto. Norman then sends a glider to save a wounded Spider-Man.
A specifically goblin-looking glider.
Yes. So I want to go back to the top of this episode and work up. There's a lot. This episode is very heavy. There's a lot in this episode. I mean, Nico being hurt, we can just kind of skip through that. That is obvious why she would be.
Yep. And it's not like written annoyingly. It's like you get the buildup of their friendship to get to why her reaction is so adverse.
Correct. I did like that we do touch in on the fact that Otto Octavius did work with Norman. Again, I still want to know more into that, but
I think this is going to be the little finale because
I think we're like water droplet feeding this one, because again, if you know the Spider-Man universe, you know Osborn will become the Green Goblin. He has to in every universe. It always leads to it because that's a super important breakthrough for Peter Parker. That's a big, important fight for him, where he learns that one, you can't necessarily save everybody, but two, sometimes your heroes become the downfall to you. And so we know that's where it's going. I'm curious in this universe of it, what more so happened between the two of them, between Norman and Otto.
Yeah. Well, he explains a little bit.
He gives a safe explanation.
Yeah.
To me, that whole line delivery, and it's a great line delivery, it feels straightforward a lie. It feels like it's fake.
Dude, Coleman Domingo out here putting in the work as Norman Osborn, dude.
I will say I was kind of frustrated with great power comes great respect line.
Okay, how so?
Because I'm used to with great power comes great responsibility, which is the actual line.
That's not correct. But you see what they're doing.
I see what they're doing with it. They are building it up correctly, and I can't blame them for that. But I'm like, that's not the line. That's not how it should go.
And that's how you're supposed to feel, George.
I know. But it does not mean it does not bug me.
I mean,
it bugs me in the correct way.
If we get it from Peter himself, telling himself that, I'm okay with that.
I think it's going to come from May. I think.
You think it's going to come from May?
I think May's going to be the one that says it, which I'm okay with since Uncle Ben is already gone. I think it's going to come from May. I think, because I think Peter's going to have the realization through when he finally gives it to May and explains what's going on, which I thought we were going to get in the next episode.
Yeah.
I was kind of bummed we didn't. I felt like that was the perfect time where Peter Parker's having too much of the weight of Spider-Man interfering with Peter Parker, that he was just going to release some of it to her, because then that would help him build up better for how to talk to Nico.
Yeah. We're
going to get into that, because I wasn't exactly thrilled with how all that has been handled so far. I love now that we have Scorpion in his suit, the look of it.
I told you, let them cook.
It worked out. The design is good. Otto Octavius design still bugs me, but that's because it's the straight comic accurate. It's
so goofy, bro. I love it. I love it so much. And he's just dancing around his warehouse. Was it this episode or is that next episode? That's next episode, I think. I lied. That didn't happen yet. Right? Yeah, that's next episode.
You're right.
I lied.
I jumped the gun on that one too. Because this one's all just focused on
No, because this ends with the Scorpion attack.
Yeah. This was a good episode.
Yeah.
This episode, because we got enough time of either Peter and Spider-Man and big moments and a good look at Lonnie and showing the still good side of Lonnie, which is for the villain, his villain name,
Tombstone.
For Tombstone is actually a very good thing to show, because again, Tombstone is a villain. He is always a villain, but he's sometimes more of a gray villain, that he's doing bad things for the right reason, but he shouldn't be. I think that's the Tombstone we're going to get. It's next episode. I would give this episode
what
the when they meet back up with one of the that's next episode. So I would give this episode a 4.5.
I'd give it a 5.
You go 5?
Dude, the ending alone, when he catches the bar and then he gets stabbed through the suit, through him.
Well, and that's what I want to talk about, because you made the comment about Spidey sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get a little bit of it in that fight.
Yeah.
Because it's when the computer is having problems in the mask, and his back is like to Scorpion while he's running and all of a sudden they kind of do a look just more to the face where you can start to see it break through. He kind of stops and then moves to dodge just at the last second. I think we're
building it.
We're building it. I
Like,
don't think he realizes he has it yet, and that's why he doesn't use it. Because we've seen in other episodes where he still can sometimes predict it and move ahead of it, but I don't think he understands that it's there.
yeah. But like the way that fight scene is shot too, with like the broken lens and that it's like first person and everything, I love that so much. Oh my god. And then we get the glider, dude.
We do get the glider. We get what looks to be a prototype. It's not the glider yet.
It looks like a Sam Raimi glider though.
It looks like it's going to be that design, but it looks more like a prototype. This looks straightforward, like it's a drone.
Yeah.
But you can clearly see the elements of the Goblin's glider built into this look.
Oh, yeah.
And again, we know Norman's going that way. And now that we kind of get a better idea of what's going on, since he is now meeting more directly with Secretary Ross, and he says he has other plans in mind. And next episode helps finish my statement. So I should not finish my statement. Going into next episode,
I'm so glad we didn't have to wait a week between these two. I would have been
there's too much connected that
these two episodes,
this should have been an hour long, but again, as you put it, from your understanding, was they are limited for how long the episodes can be, so I get why it's split.
Part of the Sony contract is that they cannot have episodes longer than 40 minutes.
I scrolled up some because I was looking for things. Normanson's glider. So, I just had it lined up and I messed with it.
Episode 8, Tangled Web, finds Oscorp's medics tending to Spidey, but the company also takes the opportunity to retrieve a sample of his blood. When Peter wakes up, Norman has covered for him with Aunt May and tells his mentee to rest before reminding him that he needs to push himself to a higher level. Peter leaves the hospital shortly before learning his and Dr. Connor's experiment has worked. At home, he reassures a worried May that he was just in a skateboarding accident and then calls Nico to apologize. Heading to Pearl's to finish their assignment, he tries to talk to Lonnie, but Tombstone is in too deep to leave the gang and plans to help Big Donovan take down the Scorpion.
Yes.
We find Otto playing video games and eating junk food. The guy is clearly a bit of a loser, but when the military... What does it say military? Those are obviously SWAT.
Yeah,
when the SWAT closes in to apprehend the villain, he unleashes his extra arms without wearing them, unfortunately, and makes short work of the authorities as he dances his way to freedom. Or so he thinks. Ross is there to take in the villain, and he is back up in the form of Iron Man. People were so excited, but I was like, it was Iron Man. Peter speaks to Norman, and the CEO warns him to stop pulling his punches and embrace his power, because with great power comes great respect.
Mm-hmm.
As this is happening, the Chameleon, now in his comic-accurate mask to hide his face from the cops, points Big Donovan in the direction of Otto's cache, and Lonnie helps inspire his fellow gang members. Harry finds a disillusioned Peter and reminds him that he's not Norman. He inspires his friend to be better than that and reveals the suit he's made for him. The classic red and blue, George.
And we don't even get to see it. We just get the glint of the mat.
Goofiest smile on my face.
I was excited.
I had the goofiest smile, dude.
I did not realize one of the original robbers early on was the Chameleon. I was like, that's who you are?
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. I'm bummed we did not get to see the extra arms on Otto.
We will.
I get we will. But I figured that since the SWAT was coming out at that moment, that was when we were going to finally get that, action of him. I figured because they started it off with him dancing through and just kind of being goofy through it, that he was going to go ahead and be grabbing the parts along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that entire set of shots, though, first off, compared to a lot of the show, has the most amount of animation cells in it because everything is moving and it feels real.
Yeah.
Like that, this episode feels the most expensive.
The back end of this entire series so far has been really good.
So I'm kind of thinking the first 5 episodes, and this is probably why they were dropped the way they were. I'm guessing those were probably our pilot.
Yeah.
And our test to make sure people would actually continue to watch this. And when the test groups proved successful, they got a bigger budget and all of a sudden put a lot into it. Because these 3 episodes are beautiful.
Yeah.
Even some of the animation gripes I've had with the season of timing and such, they're gone.
Yeah.
So again, I think the first 5 episodes were probably our pilot, and there are problems with those episodes, and we brought up those problems, and we have agreed on pretty much all those problems. They're not in these last 5. Even the high-speed race, everything is alive. Everything is moving the way it should be.
Dude, and the way this is last episode still, but the way that it's shot, or it's animated, I should say, where they're driving off and they're leaving the light trails behind them is so cool. That's such a small detail that takes like a lot of effort to do, but it made it look way better.
And again, you can still use the word shot.
I guess,
because technically an animation film is shot. Yeah, these are all being done through computer, but you still are taking the idea of where the shot is at. No. Otto's escape is what I'm going to word it as, because it's a failed escape, but escape is probably my favorite set of scenes.
It's pretty good.
It's really good and really entertaining. Because, like, you're wondering why, like, at one point he picks up earplugs and puts them on.
And then when he puts them on, the music muffles as well.
And you're like,
it's so cool.
And you're like, okay, why? Like, this dude's, like, jamming out. And it's just because he's already set up for his next attack. And he just moves on. He's just jamming. He's so goofy.
Yeah, he's so goofy. I love it. He's, like, twirly mustache goofy.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes, he is, like, classic. At this point, I'm confused why he's not wearing a top hat with a handlebar mustache, because this is the kind of villain they've made him out to be, and I'm okay with
okay with that.
If they're gonna leave him looking really stupid, at least he seems really stupid for being really smart.
I love it.
And then him randomly playing a Facebook game. I was like, what in the world is going on? Who thought that this was the way we wanted to take supposed to be one of the smartest characters in this universe?
Give him a raise. Whoever thought of that. Give them a raise, dude. That's awesome.
I was surprised that we got an actual scene of Iron Man in it.
Yeah, put the cameo somewhere.
I mean, that's all it was. It was a quick cameo.
Yeah.
I'm curious who voiced him.
The same guy that did it for What If. I looked it up because I was curious too.
Because it's a good Robert Downey
replacement.
Yeah, it fit very well. This episode, one thing that this doesn't talk about is Peter's proposal for a new energy supplement to try to copy Stark's as close as possible is successful. And what's important in this time frame of that happening is Oscorp starts receiving a lot of animals.
I think that's something else. I think that's entirely something else.
What do you think it is?
Well, they make it a note to show you that they draw his blood when he's in the hospital.
Yes.
I think that they're experimenting with his DNA and the spider enhancements on other animals.
So what I think it is, because this goes back to Goblin himself.
Mm-hmm.
Green Goblin in almost every set is, again, experimenting on a serum for super soldier serum.
Yeah.
And they always started on the animal trials. That's where I think we're going with that. We may be using part of Spider-Man's blood to help make it.
I think that's what's going to happen, yeah.
But the bigger, to me, the big important part is we're getting the animals there, which means we are now on the correct set of tracks to become Green Goblin.
Yeah.
This is all going to lead to it, which I'm okay with. Like, that was a good way to introduce it. They don't have to show the bad side of the animal exploitation. I don't think we're going to go that far into it.
Well,
They
were pretty brutal with Scorpion.
Yes, but showing dead animals that's a little risque for a Disney animated show.
We'll see.
I think we're gonna see empty crates, and that will be our and it'll come. There's some experiments going on, and sometimes things don't work out.
I mean, they like actively talked about the Holocaust in X-Men '97, so
yes. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't think we're gonna get that deep into it. And you gotta consider what words you say, because that word
I'm just saying.
could get the channel in trouble. We're not Nuxlor, who could apparently get away with all these jokes,
I
but
don't know what you're talking about.
you don't know Nux?
No.
I figured you would know Nux, the VTuber.
I don't watch YouTubers.
I watch him because he's funny.
Okay.
And he makes fun of quite current events.
Okay.
So that's why I watch him.
No Spider-Man in this episode at all.
We didn't need it.
We didn't need it. And I love, you probably didn't get this, but you know, are you watching the intros every time?
I'm skipping them to save time because I don't have the time to do it.
So we discussed the first week that every episode, the title card is a recreation of a comic cutter.
Yes.
Cover. For this one, it was a recreation of Spider-Man No More. With the suit and the trash can and everything.
Well, and to me, this episode was so much more impactful without Spider-Man, because we got so much time of Peter having to deal with the repercussions of being Spider-Man. And I'm disappointed in this episode in the fact that he is finally coming to grips with he can't keep his secret identity a complete secret. Now that Nico knows, he's struggling through it. He's actually facing straightforward they're calling it nightmares. To me, it's more PTSD at this point, because it was a much more like PTSD nightmare. And two, he's facing the fact of that he's still mortal. He sees and recognizes the fact that he can still die. We should have had part of him trying to work his way through this. We should have had in this episode him talk to May about it.
I go back and forth on that.
Because he's trying to figure out how to explain everything to Nico. And if anybody's going to understand, and he's coming back clearly hurt, it would be this moment to talk to May about it.
I go back and forth on that because, like, out of everybody he doesn't want to tell, I think May is on the top of that list. So I go back and forth on it. I can see it happening. I'd be okay if it happens. But I don't know. That is, speaking of that nightmare sequence, all I could think about while it was happening was how hard Mysterio is going to go in this show.
Yes.
Because if this is the art direction for a nightmare sequence, Mysterio is going to go insane.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I'm so glad that the show is good and we're getting 2 more seasons at least.
I'm surprised because of how fast we're introducing villains, even if we don't get to see them as a villain yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we're going to see Tombstone as a villain yet.
I don't think we'll see Tombstone.
I think Tombstone's going to be a villain for season 2.
I don't think we're going to see Rhino in the next 2 episodes either.
I don't either. But since we have this set up, I'm surprised we haven't gotten the setup for Mysterio yet.
Okay. Here's my next question. Do you think we're going to stick with the MCU background for Mysterio, or are we going to get a new Quentin Beck?
There were so many complaints by people for how the MCU Quentin Beck was done. We're not going to go that route again.
Okay.
I think this show is leaning so heavy on the comics, where the MCU is kind of like, we've got a little bit of comic, but we know the story that's going on in the main arc, and we're going to focus to that. And Spider-Man's going to build up whatever needs to be done at this moment to support that.
Yeah.
Where the show, yes, to go back to your nod, it's not necessarily exactly comic accurate, but it's leaning extremely hard to the comics and like different versions of those stories. So I think we're going to go back to an actual comic version of Quentin Beck, especially again since there was kind of a big amount of people extremely mad about how I'm one of them, straightforward, of how the MCU Quentin Beck is.
Yeah. No, trust me,
I sat there like, that's not Mysterio.
Trust me, I know. Yeah,
like that was a cheap like cop out of how to do it.
We were this close to greatness,
right?
We were this close
because you start to get those views of like a good Mysterio, and then
it's all holograms.
It's all just holograms, and I'm like, really, you had to go that cheap?
This close to greatness.
You had to make it a Tony Stark story, not a
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the MCU, that's my biggest gripe, is majority of the MCU Spider-Man stories are Tony Stark stories.
I'm so happy we got this soft reboot, George.
So
thank you, No Way Home, for giving us a soft reboot on MCU Spider-Man.
we'll see.
I don't know, man. Classic Sue. If he doesn't take off the mask, it's okay.
I said we'll see. We'll see what happens. We can be hopeful that it is going to be more of the classic Spider-Man, more going that route. Again, if I wish I could see how well this show's actually doing on the viewer hours and watch hours.
That won't come out for like
correct
a month. Right?
And this show's coming out so fast. I think the reason they're dropping it as fast as they are is so that the Nielsen numbers will look really good when they get updated. But
I think they were dropping them like super crazy because this is the year that we're backed up from the writer's strike. So they had to get it out in these first 2 months so that they could shift their marketing to Captain America, so that they could shift their marketing to the show between Captain America and Thunderbolts, and then they can shift their marketing to Thunderbolts. This is going to be a very, very tight year for the MCU and Marvel as a whole. What would you give episode 8 score?
Honestly, you want my honest opinion?
Yeah.
I'm at a 5 on this episode.
That's crazy.
This episode is so solid.
I never thought I would see the day
that I would give the show.
That you would give a 5 willingly. We're still at a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's this episode. This episode actually made me a little emotional during it because this episode is written and shot perfectly.
Yeah.
Again, my only gripe with it, but I'm not going to knock it down for it because it's just my personal opinion of how the story is being told, was that Aunt May should have been that breaking moment between the two of them, because that also would have helped rebuild Peter Parker for the end when he goes and meets with Harry and them, and then him seeing him seeing the suit and the quick flash we get of the top of it on the glasses is so perfectly timed because you only get a second of it and it's gone. To me, this was a perfect episode. The only thing that could have made it better in my mind is taking that story beat. I get the knot. That's why I'm not docking it down.
I know what they're building to, and I'm not going to tell you. I know what they're building to. I know why you have those frustrations. They're building to something, George.
They are building.
They're building to something, George. Building,
but this episode, to me, it's a solid 5. Like, the end of this week was my end of first week. I was disappointed there was not another episode. And that does not happen for me, especially in current Disney Plus showscape. A lot of the shows have been, in the nicest way I can word it, kind of a letdown. WandaVision after episode 3, because episode 1 and 2 I wasn't sure I was going to continue. Episode 3.
Keep talking. It's my end.
Okay.
It's on my
end. After episode 1 and 2 of WandaVision, I wasn't entirely sold on it. Episode 3 sold me in it. Episode 1 and 2 and this has sold me on it. Episode 3, 4, 5, I was very weary because that was very much a downgrade. And even if we look at the numbers, you even agreed on it that we kind of went down. These episodes brought me up so far, and I was so disappointed there wasn't another episode. I am a solid 5 on this episode.
Oh my god, it makes me so happy.
Where are you at on this episode?
I'm at a 5. This is like perfect Peter Parker.
You may want to unplug and just replug your camera.
No, I lost internet connection for some reason.
Oh
yeah,
that's fun. I mean, we eventually note new studio Cat 6 available both laptops. Okay. That way I can put it into my wire diagram. That being said, let's look at the tally then where we're at so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go back. These are out of 10. We're gonna go 1 week at a time. Week 1 was episode 1 was 7.5. Episode 2 was a 9. Episode 3 was an 8. Episode 4 was a 6. Episode 5 was a 6.5. Episode 6 was an 8. Episode 7 was a 9.5. Episode 8 is a 10.
Yeah.
The average out of all of those.
7. No, 8.1.
If we round up a little bit, 8.1. It's 8.06.
Okay.
But 8.1.
8.1. I'm okay with that.
That's solid.
That's pretty good.
For a Disney Plus show.
Listen, man.
That's solid.
I know what's coming. I'm predicting it now. I'm going to be at a 6 for both episodes next week. For sure, the finale.
If they ride this high, they can easily get a solid 5 and 5.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I almost want to say I think we're going to see Peter start to get a little weary of Norman. Because I think when he goes out, he's going to see wherever Norman is. And I have feelings and I have thoughts, but I don't want to share them yet. Because I think I know where he's going. And if so, it leads up and connects everything else. And it would also... We're not going to get into that theory space because I don't want to spoil it if I'm correct, because I think people will be super excited and actually enjoy it. I hope this show is doing well. Nielsen, what? I'm trying to see if anybody has updated any of it. I'm not seeing it, which is unfortunate. Again, I think we're still too early. But I'm hoping it's good.
Yeah. Because this is really good. This deserves something, bro.
Well, because again, even though they have been greenlit for 2 more seasons and we have another season done, they can always stop it before the 3rd season, depending on how this is doing.
Yeah.
There we go. 6. Well, that's January, so that's still a month behind. So yeah, we can't.
Well, it came out January 29th.
January 6th to the 12th is as far as I can see.
Yeah. So it's going to be a month before we can see or it's going to be 2 weeks before we can see the premiere.
January 6th to the 12th, though, Squid Games was number 1.
That does not
for original content.
Does not surprise me at all.
Do you know what the number 1 was for the acquired content?
Acquired? What does that mean?
Original is I made it. Acquired is I bought it, but I...
Yeah.
So do you know what acquired show is the number 1?
In January?
Mm-hmm. January 6th or 12th? Bluey.
No. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Bluey's always number 1.
Yeah.
1,107 million minutes. It's Bluey. Okay, so I need to bookmark this page so we can always jump back to it because this is the top 10 for the time periods. Overall, good set of episodes.
Yeah.
And any hint, any teaser, any thought you want to leave going towards the next set?
I think we're not going to see Goblin this season.
No, it would be too fast to build.
It's going to be the post-creds, I think. Or it's going to be right at the end.
I think what we're going to see in one of these last 2 episodes is Peter see and realize that Norman has started testing of something. Not necessarily he's going to know what he's working on animals or whatnot. And this is going to put weariness between them. But I don't think we're going to see anything of the Goblin yet.
Yeah.
I think Goblin is, right now I'm thinking Tombstone is going to be the main villain arc of the next season.
We'll see.
Because we're building up on it, and if we go that route, we can spend a lot more time with Peter, but Spider-Man, trying to help Lonnie get back on the right track. And so that's why I can see him being a full season villain. Because it's not going to be one that he keeps trying to completely stop, but like, hey, you should knock this off. Go back to school.
Yeah.
Be responsible. But we can still have the kind of villain of the week still happen. And the main overarch, kind of how this overarch we found out to be Octavius, could be Tombstone.
Yeah.
And I think next season, the Goblin is going to appear. I think season 3 will be the Goblin season.
Okay.
I think we're going to build, because you need that time, because there's so much emotional break and such for Spider-Man when he does the fight with Goblin, when he realizes who the Goblin is. And since we're building so much this season, this trust and this fatherly figure, and I can go to you for anything, which is why him going and talking about not having faith in himself, I thought was a good scene. Next season has to be the realization that his hero is not, necessarily a hero, and that start to be waning. And then we're going to have probably towards the end, probably let's say they're doing 10 episodes for the next season, probably 7 or 8, the fall down that the Goblin now exists, and Goblin will probably show up, but Goblin will escape, and then season 3 will be dealing with the Goblin, in my opinion. That's how I see the arcs going. Because we spent the good first half of the season really building the connection between him and Lonnie, which would make then sense for him to become the next main villain for us to focus on. And we're spending this whole time building the Goblin. And I don't see them rushing into the Goblin, especially since we just barely got to the start of the tests.
Yeah.
Yeah, he already has some of the technology, but even like we can see that Octavius already has, like the sound emitters that Goblin uses, but he hasn't had time to backwards build them to figure out how to rebuild them himself. So we need that arc to get all that time done. There's a lot more building still for him.
Yeah.
And a lot more time where we'll see the shift of the character dynamics between the two of them. My opinion.
All right.
I guess we'll find out more next week.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It's a long week. Now, go for the synopsis of episode number...
I don't have them pulled up. You didn't tell me to pull them up.
I figured you'd pull them up because
You know what, George? You're right.
I've got a lot of stuff on my side I've got to control. Justin's not in the studio with me tonight. He's feeling sick, but that's okay.
All right, episode 9, Hero or Menace. Spoiler recap. Opens with Otto Octavius locked up, courtesy of the Sokovia Accords. Norman Osborn visits him in jail. He takes great delight in gloating over Oscorp's many successes, and he's taking credit over Otto being locked up. Norman reveals that he made a deal with General Ross to acquire his former employees' inventions. So everything that Otto invented and created while he was by himself has now been subsidized into Oscorp. The furious scientist hits back with some harsh words of his own and vows to take revenge. Big Donovan sets out to steal Otto's text from the cops transporting it. Nico and Pearl are hanging out around there. They're almost caught up in the attack. Fortunately, Spider-Man is in the classic red and blue. And George, let me tell you, I had the goofiest smile on my face when we saw that costume. because not only is it a classic costume, it is the classic costume besides the lenses. The lenses go with the more MCU design, which I prefer. So I'm happy with it.
No, it looks good.
It looks so good. Let's see. Fight breaks out between the 1/10s and the Scorpions, and Big Donovan eventually gets like wrapped by Mac Gargan and is about to get killed, so he just runs away and leaves the rest of the 1/10.
Yeah.
During this time, Lonnie gets into the truck transporting everything and is looking around for stuff and knocks over a canister full of gas that he is briefly knocked out by. He eventually comes back out of the truck, waking up, and I believe he gets stabbed by the Scorpion, but nothing happens. The tail just breaks, showing off his tombstone, super strength, and invulnerability. Which, when this initially happened, I was a little disappointed, but we'll get back to that.
Yes. Finish the synopsis and then we can talk about the show.
Let's see. Victory was short-lived when Mac fights back, seemingly kills Lonnie by burying him under some rubble, and Norman's words start echoing in Spider-Man's head, and he no longer holds back and savagely beats the villain down until Lonnie reemerges and stops him from delivering a killing blow. Very, very, very similarly to Tobey Maguire in No Way Home. Like, almost exactly the same, like, composition and everything.
Yes.
After that, he webs them up to the ground, and then the Scorpions just kind of scatter, and the 1/10 leave with Lonnie. Later on, it ends with the episode revealing Norman's true colors when he meets with Oscorp scientists, and we learn that they're using Peter's blood to experiment on other animals, like we had talked about last week.
Yes. Yeah. So going back to the top of this episode, I love the conversation sequence of him and Dr. Octavius talking. It does such a good job of setting him up in that villainous dialogue. Like, you can hear the Goblin in the traces of his voice during that whole time, talking and gloating about his strength and such. This fight sequence between Scorpion, Lonnie, and Spider-Man, hands down my favorite fight sequence of the.
Oh my God, George! I was, I'm sitting back here watching, and the animation got smoother, and I went, "Hold up, hold up, hold up!"
This episode has the best animation of the whole season.
Oh my God!
And
I was locked in, bro.
The fight sequence is so well done. I like that for Tombstone, we are getting to see that it looks like they are to go and keep him more in that protector bad guy role. That he is still a villain, but he's not evil. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because again, Tombstone, there are some Tombstones that are just, I like to kill, and that's the route I go. But this one is very much, no, you're Spider-Man, don't kill. And it's such a feel-good moment of that scene. We also get in this episode, Peter and what's her name? Goth girl.
Nico,
mending their friendship.
Oh yeah.
It's a good little half scene that it needed to happen, but it's a good scene.
And they promise to each other no more secrets, but then she looks down at her necklace and she goes, "Right, no more secrets." Which, like, if you know the comics, you know what's happening. If you know who Nico is as a character, you know what's happening. If you don't, it's really good.
See, and I'm not sure who Nico is.
She's from the Runaways.
Yeah,
so you wouldn't know.
That's why I was very confused with what was going on, and we'll get more into that next episode because there's a big deal in that in the next episode. But like they dropped the hint of the glider, how we kind of talked about, looked more like I said, it looked more drone, but they do confirm it was the glider. So there's the Goblin's glider.
Yep.
When they're talking about working on Spider-Man's blood, we find that they are trying to build the same serum that Spider-Man has in order to change him. But that's really what happens in this episode. This episode's mostly a fight.
Oh yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
Yep, especially coming off of episode 8 being an exclusively Peter Parker episode. It makes sense that this episode is mostly a Spider-Man episode.
So, that being said, your score
5.
Okay. I'm glad we agree.
Yeah.
This episode, like I already threw my scores on because I didn't want to be impacted by your decisions. Yeah. This episode is a solid 5. This is another really good episode. And that's impressive for me to have 2 5s back to back. Like you're running on a high of the last 3 episodes being a 5 for you. But okay. Synopsis for 10, go for it.
So we open on Rockford Bales High. Basically Peter, it's following up on the Peter and Pearl presentation that they had earlier in the season. Let me skip over some. Over at Oscorp,
the fact that his name is Peter, not PD, because they got an A- in their project.
Yes, so. Yes, she calls him Peter, not PD. First time whole season. And then he goes off to his. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I still think it's weird that, and I know this is kind of review part. I still think it's weird that our love interest, because she's going to become our Mary Jane of this universe, that it's his old babysitter. That's still odd to me.
Yeah.
That's still a weird dynamic.
I also think she's original, but I could be wrong about that. I'll look it up in just a second after this synopsis. Yeah. He then goes to the internship where where Norman reveals that all of their mini projects that all of the interns were working on was actually part of a bigger project. Does he give it a name? He names it. I
don't think he does.
He does name it. It's Project Monolith.
That's,
I think.
Yeah.
I think. Basically, it's really cool. Scientifically, it's really cool because basically it's in simpleton terms, it's a portal. It's like a space gateway, but it's basically a housing hole for an Einstein-Rosengate bridge.
Yep.
Which is really cool. Which is really cool, right? Norman is very arrogant about it all, and he's pushing to start it. Everybody's pushing against him to not, and eventually he convinces his lead scientist to start it, and they open into a quiet quadrant, which is what they say. Actually, no. Before they boot it up, Doctor Strange appears, and he goes, "You need to stop now. You don't know what you're messing with."
Yep.
And Peter's yelling at him like, "You were at Midtown." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. That's crazy, bro." Right? And then as soon as that happened, I knew what was going on. I'll get into it. They open the gate. It goes to a quiet quadrant in space, and then the symbiote jumps out from episode 1. And you go, what? It looks like Venom, but it's not Venom because Venom hasn't been here yet. It's crazy, right? Basically, they fight in the Rosengate room. Spider-Man shows up. You go, thwip, thwip, thwip. Doctor Strange goes, and then they fight. Eventually, through combat, the power generator gets damaged, so the gate shuts down, and Strange goes one-on-one with the symbiote to buy Peter time to repair the generator. Yep. And during that time, he is using the Eye of Agamotto to hold back the symbiote, and also creating a sling hole And during that time, he loses focus for just a second, and the symbiote hits him, mixing the two spells together, creating a time hole, which is the same time hole from the first episode.
Yes.
Also, during all the fighting, Peter gets sent flying through a wall into the animals division, which is where we get our spider from episode 1. So basically, it's really confusing. Don't think about it too much. But the spider that bites Spider-Man was engineered with Spider-Man's blood.
Yes.
Don't think about it too much, because I did, and it doesn't make me happy. But that's just me.
We'll talk about it. Keep moving.
We'll talk about it. Anyways, Strange pulls the symbiote back up. Peter repairs the generator. They close it in, and they shut off the generator just in time before the big symbiote comes back. But there's a little sliver that makes it through. And then we get our big 10-minute post-creds.
Yeah. Legitimately, the rest of this episode is just quick little clean wrap up. Somebody went ahead and said the Imagineering came up with Web, the Worldwide Engineering Brigade, and said, we're going to throw it in the show because why not?
I'm okay with that.
We'll see. We'll see what they do with it.
Yeah. Is it connected to it? No, because it's connected to the MCU, but it's not in the MCU. So it's just a name at this point.
But basically, we'll see what they do with it.
Harry is convinced by Peter to create Web so that the interns have a space to work, that their work isn't going to be used for nefarious means.
Yes.
And then Asha and Amadeus accept while they're creating it. Sorry, I messed up. So Harry's creating it, and he has a list of candidates, and there's a big whiteboard behind him with a bunch of names written down. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, because I didn't get a chance to stop and actually look at the scene.
Immediately, the ones that jumped out to me was Ned Leeds, which is Hobgoblin, and you know Ned Leeds from the MCU.
Yes.
And Max Dillon, who is Electro. Those are the two that immediately jumped out to me.
I think it's still too soon for it to be on the internet, though.
I wouldn't say so, because I already saw some articles earlier about it. I'm just trying to pull it up.
Yeah, I'm looking also. Here it is. Reddit posted it. All right, so you got Peter Parker, Amadeus Cho,
which he's in the first season.
Let me go. Let's do this. Let's open image in a new tab, and then.
Okay, I have a full list. So Peter Parker.
I have the picture. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Oh, okay. Oh, are you gonna put the picture up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just have to change my screens a little bit real fast right here, and boop. So Peter Parker, Amadeus Cho, Asha, Scott Forbes.
Scott Forbes is either a reference to a random special agent who showed up in one issue of Inhumans, or to Marvel artist W. Scott Forbes, who currently works on the visual department for Marvel Studios.
Max Dillon.
Electro.
Jean Falcout.
She's the she's one of the interns. She's the one that is Finesse.
Okay. Lee Ann Dufour.
An art designer and director who has worked on various Disney productions.
Ty Miranda.
First introduced in the series Unstoppable Wasp, which also included Finesse.
Okay.
Tyan Miranda is a wheelchair-bound engineering genius.
Then we got Emmy Choi.
It's possible this may be a reference to Emmy Choi, who is a prop designer in character animation, or Emma Choi, who worked as a translator on X-Men 97.
Priya
Agarwal.
Aga. Yeah.
Also introduced in Unstoppable Wasp, Priya is another member of Girl, the tech collective that Nadia, the second Wasp, sets up. She's a botanist who later gains plant controlling powers.
Okay. Benjamin Anders.
A character designer, art director, and illustrator who also worked on Adventure Time and Craig of the Creek.
Oh. Tony Sandoval.
While TBC, I don't know what that means. This seems to be a combination of Tony Ho, the daughter of Iron Man character Ho Yinsen, and Gerardo Sandolva, the co-creator of Tony Ho.
Okay. Ned Leeds.
Ned Leeds, Hobgoblin, and you know him from the MCU.
Yes. Tiberius Stone.
A scientist in the Marvel Comics, Tiberius is most associated with the Oscorp rival Alchemex and is heavily tied with Spider Slayers, robots that try to, kill Spider-Man.
Adam Rodney.
Only thing I'm coming up with this one is a personal trainer in the LA area or YouTube star who may be the same as the personal trainer. This is somebody's list put together.
Yeah. Kaiden Nixon.
A mutant with the power of time acceleration. She was first introduced in 2003's Nyx.
Interesting. Ripley Ryan.
Best known as the anti-hero Star, Ryan is the current bearer of the Reality Stone and is able to make both subtle and large changes to reality as a result. She often clashes with Captain Marvel and doesn't have a science background in the comics, so a surprising introduction to the list.
And Diane Jenkins.
Jenkins is an Empire State University student who pretends to be Spider-Woman in a video game, drawing the attention of the real Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew.
Okay.
All right. Going back to the synopsis. Hold on. After Web, and the page just reloaded. Well, this is actually technically before that. Peter meets up with Strange on the rooftop near Midtown. And Strange says he regrets messing with the timeline, but Spider reassures him that everything that's meant to happen will happen. So essentially what he's saying is that he was going to become Spider-Man no matter what, even if it wasn't with Strange's time manipulation, which is true given the web of life and destiny. And then Asha and Amadeus both accept the web offer, as does Jean, but Jean is then shown to be Finesse all along. She's the one who had Daredevil break into Oscorp, who helped him break into Oscorp. Lonnie now has white splotches on his hand that weren't there before. This is turning him into the Tombstone design that we know. And then he's also shown to be leading the 1/10, and he drives off, leaving his Letterman in the trash can.
Yeah.
Norman sneaks back into the lab where the Project Monolith lab, and he finds a small remnant of the symbiote. Nico is shown using her necklace to magically convene with her biological mother's ghost. In prison, Otto Octavius sketches out plans for a mechanical tentacle harness in his cell, while Aunt May goes to visit a mysterious prisoner who turns out to be Richard Parker, who simply asks, "How's my son's doing?" And then we cut back to Spidey taking a final celebratory victory swing as the season ends. Typical of Spider-Man projects. Are you looking up?
I was just so the Spider-Man's father. You said Richard Parker.
Yes.
I was just trying to double check because I don't remember in any line, any run of Peter's parents still being alive. It's always that May, if something happens before the comics, and May and Ben take over.
There's a few.
And what?
There's a few that Richard survives. They were even adapting it in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but all the scenes were cut.
Well, so as this put it, in the original comics, no, there is no run of it. When at the time that the Amazing Spider-Man films were coming out, there was a new run that started to save Richard. But as you put it, the scenes were cut from the Amazing Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's a new story plot that I'm really curious what is going to come of it. It's why I had to look that one up. But no, a lot happened. So going back to the top of this episode, there's not a lot that happens in this episode, but there is a lot that happens in this episode.
It's a lot more closure for the season than being a season finale, if that makes sense.
You say you pieced together of what was going to happen with Strange. I did not.
Okay.
I did not piece that together. I came in. I was excited to see Strange here. To me, Strange being confused of who's Peter Parker and such is wouldn't surprise me because again, he only saw him for a second. On top of that, part of me was thinking, okay, this could be a different universe Strange than what we see at the beginning of the show. Because again, Strange is one that can jump the universes during combat. And so I was like, oh, hey, whatever. I was totally caught by surprise when he falls back into episode 1. And I was super stoked. Like, I was like, this is cool. This is such a cool concept. I did not, and I do not like the idea that Spider-Man made Spider-Man.
Yeah. Try not to think about it.
You can't help but think about it.
I know.
Like, originally, again, I was kind of confused with the backstory of the Spider. But I was like, okay, again, he came from a different dimension or whatnot, so I was okay with us not knowing. I wish I didn't know where the Spider came from at this point.
Yeah.
This kind of it kind of hurt my feelings of the story overall. This was a loose end. I don't think we needed to tie up.
Not quite yet.
We could have,
like if it was originally like from a different universe, like we were saying, we could have tied it up later. Yeah, it would have been fine.
But like the idea of, oh well, they were working on the Spider Serum to make Spider-Man, and apparently they were successful, but we accidentally sent it to the past. And no, that story doesn't work with me.
Mm-hmm.
The Spider design doesn't even look completely the same, though.
I don't know, man.
So I don't know, man. I was. I mean, we only get a quick second with it, but I don't know. This fight sequence though was not as enjoyable to me.
No.
This one didn't do it.
I like the end. I like the end when like Strange is holding the shield up and then like Spider-Man's pulling on everything. I really like that.
Well,
but that's about it.
There are good moments of this fight sequence, but overall this fight sequence was just mid.
Yeah.
This felt like we were going back to like the like dash fight where Norman first started helping.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It really felt, especially when we just got done with the Tombstone and Spider-Man pair-up fight, which was so flawless. This one I was like,
Yeah, it makes me wonder if like this episode was made coinciding with the original pilots like we had discussed.
I'm wondering, if they probably did the first few episodes, because again, you got to see the full sequence of that fight, and this was probably, I'm wondering if this was animated and designed at the same time as the first episode, just to show where the story was going.
Yeah.
to help again get it greenlit because it's such a cool concept, but like the introduction of the spider going back, that to me feels like it was a like last minute thought
Mhm.
because it doesn't this show is very well fleshed out. That doesn't
Yeah.
feel fleshed out.
Everything about this show, every story beat about this show feels great, except for this last episode.
Yeah,
It feels middling. It's not bad. I won't say it's bad. It just feels middling. Comparatively to everything else, it feels bad. But overall, I think it feels middling.
correct. Yeah, I totally agree. I was super surprised. Like I knew there was something going on with Nico, but I was super surprised to see her casting spells.
Mhm.
Um, do you know about this character or?
Yeah.
So give me her build up
So
because again we don't know if this is the way they're going to go in season 2 of it.
they
Just the
will.
way.
Typically she uses a staff that is cursed, that any word she says can be any word that she intends to say as a spell can be turned into a spell. But once she says that word once, it might be phrase instead of word. I don't remember. But basically, once she says it once, it's used up forever. She has to reword it to do it again, right? And we see that in the episode where they're driving and she says go faster and the necklace lights up.
Yeah,
And that's one of the things. That's one of her spells, essentially.
got it.
Mhm.
I did like getting to see Octavius in front of the exoskeleton, at least the design of it. Though I don't understand the logistics of this prison, that they're not going to stop him from designing a super suit behind him. But
Oh no, man.
again, this was a wrap up episode. Your score for the episode?
I'm gonna be lower than you.
You think so?
I know so because remember what I said they were building to?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't build to it. They just used
What
the same name.
what do you think they were building to?
So if This Be My Destiny is a storyline from the 60s where Peter Parker is dating Betty Brant at the time, which she's in the MCU. She's the blonde girl from the school news that Ned dates in Far From Home.
Yeah.
And they're dating at the time, and Peter plans to tell her that he is Spider-Man. On the way to the date that he's going to tell her at, her brother gets kidnapped by Otto Octavius, and this is why I said they were building to it, because it is a Doc Ock story. And so Peter or Spider-Man goes and Betty goes. They both go to the docks where Doc Ock is holding him.
Yeah.
And during the fight, her brother is killed, and she blames Spider-Man for it, right?
I remember this story.
Eventually Doc Ock drops a bunch of rubble on top of him. It could be in a warehouse, I don't exactly remember. But they adapt this in Homecoming with the warehouse and the Vulture, where he's initially like tweaking out and like freaking out as he would, as a regular human would, about how he's going to die in there. And then it's a huge moment of self reflection and encouragement, saying that he is Spider-Man and he can do anything he sets his mind to. And he lifts up the rubble and escapes out of it by himself. And it's a really big Spider-Man moment that cements a lot of his character. And I was really excited that they named the episode that, because I thought that's what they were going to be doing, but they didn't. So my initial like rating from last night, going into the episode expecting that and immediately coming out not having that, would have been a 2. I think I'm at a 3 for this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's surprising.
Yeah.
Because honestly, on this episode,
Are you at a 4?
I'm at a 4.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm
Like,
just like, I'm disappointed. But that's
this,
my expectations
this is
because of the name.
So like what in like a concert, you go ahead and you build, and usually you have the one like let down to go ahead and start to calm the crowd down as you end it off, unless they go into like encores and such.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this episode ended up feeling like to me. Was like we realized we hit peak episode last episode, and this is just, let's go ahead and let's close up some of the storylines in case we don't get a second season. But we'll still set up enough so if we get one, we know where we're going.
Yeah.
But no, this episode was a 4 to me. So
And like under your circumstances, I 100% see a 4.
Yeah, because I know what story you're talking about and that makes sense to me why you would think that. If you had told me that thought last week,
and that this is another reason why I did it, is because I wanted you to be surprised by it. Yeah,
I would have shot you down. I would have told you that we're too early for that story beat.
I don't think so, because it happens relatively early within the grand scheme of Spider-Man. It's issue.
Like we don't have anyone set up 69. For it to be with yet. We're not at that point of this Spider-Man.
So it could be a season 2 thing, but they already used the name.
I think they're gonna use the storyline in season 2. It's not gonna be the same name, but I think that we'll see that in season 2 because we don't have the setup of a character for Peter to be getting that close to yet. Because Nico already knows. Nico's the only one I could see at this point besides May. But the episode where he would have revealed it to May, he didn't. So if you had told me last week that's where your mind was, I would have told you you're wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't even piece it together because I had no idea going into this episode what we were going to see. I didn't expect This Be My Destiny be about the origin story of this universe of Spider-Man being made from Spider-Man.
But like at the same time, just taking the words at face value and completely removing the story associated with the words, it makes sense because the core message of this episode is that no matter what, he was going to be Spider-Man.
Yes.
So like, it's about him accepting that and like wearing it on his sleeve.
Yeah.
And like, thinking about it that way, I like it. It just irks me because of what that name means to Spider-Man fans.
No, and I get you. So, episode 9 out of 10, you and I gave it a 10.
Yeah.
Episode 10 out of 10, we gave it a 7.
I'm okay with that.
With that in mind, where do you think out of 10 the whole season came in at?
I'd say we were at 8.2 last week, right?
So I'll go through it. I'll give you the numbers. Episode 1 was a 7.5.
Okay.
Episode 2 was a 9.
Yep.
Episode 3 was an 8.
Okay.
Episode 4 was a 6. Episode 5 was a 6.5. Episode
7.
No, I got off somewhere. Hold on. Episode 1 is a 7.5. Episode 2 is a 9. Episode 3 is an 8. Episode 4 was a 6. Episode 5 was a 6.5. Episode 6 was an 8. Episode 7 was a 9.5. 8 and 9 were both 10s. Episode 10 is a 7.
8.5.
8.15. So pretty close.
Oh, okay. But yeah.
An 8 out of 10 for a new show.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
It has really high highs and pretty middling lows overall.
Yeah. I mean, even when we look at it on the out of 5s, our lowest out of 5 for each of us individually was a 3.
What's it at Rotten Tomatoes now?
What's it at Rotten Tomatoes now? Let's see. Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't pull this up, and I should have. That's my bad.
Yeah.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So, It is a average tomato meter of 97%.
Wow.
The popcorn meter is 69%.
69 on popcorn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Top
I wonder
critics.
if how many of those are bombs or are reviews bombing.
Yeah, because all critics, there are 35 reviews at this point. It's an 8.2 out of 10. So again, right, you and I seem to be lining up like right in line with Rotten Tomatoes critic scores, which is actually kind of surprising. They had 34 fresh, 1 rotten review. Let me see. Reviews. I always forget how to pull up the actual reviews of people. Are you not going to let me see it? Why don't you let me see it? Do I have to go into the season? Go away. There we go. Okay, so when I go into the actual season one is a 97 on the tomato meter and a 69 on the popcorn meter. Would you go away?
It's weird that it got like a.
There.
What the what?
What?
Yeah, I think it's just getting bombed because I'm just seeing a bunch of like 4.5s and 5s instead of 3.5s. And then the occasional 1 or the half star. It's just like a single line of text for the
Yeah,
bad
so
reviews.
all audiences. Yeah, because I mean it's sitting pretty solid with most people.
It's such a boring series. The change in characters without the change in Peter is a very bad joke. Just garbage from the new era. Oh, never mind. I understand what that means. You're lame. This cartoon is a mess from start to finish. The animation is cheap and lifeless. The story makes no sense, and the humor is forced and childish. It's a complete waste of time. Don't bother watching it. I feel like you only watched the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, because hold on. I do want to talk about a couple of these if we're gonna look at them and read them.
Okay.
So like that one, I have to agree. If you're watching only the first 3 episodes, it does feel a little mess-like. It was good enough for us to continue. The animation does feel cheap, which was our biggest complaints of the first 5 episodes.
Yeah.
The humor, it's not a normal Spider-Man like joking type of this character. I will say that. Like I get where their reviews coming from. I mean that was back on February 9th. So obviously they didn't do anything. They didn't update it.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can change the when reviews are from?
Maybe on PC, but not on.
Well, no,
mobile.
they're in order.
Yeah, they're in order. Yeah.
So everything from today is I'm seeing a 4.5 is the lowest.
Yeah, from today.
Or there's a 3.5. So the 3.5 from today.
But the 3.5 is like actually being critical. Like he wrote a whole paragraph.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to go to. So I'll be honest, I was skeptical at first. Another Spider-Man show, but Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man won me over in no time. The animation, a perfect comic book come to life, the world, an incredible new universe I'd happily get lost in. The cameos and references, chef's kiss. You can feel the love for the source material in every frame. It's fun, fresh, and packed with excellent writing, reimagining classic characters in ways that just work. The world building is top tier, and now I'm just impatient for season 2. If you love Spidey, this is an absolute watch. See, that's a solid review.
That's a good review.
That's a good review.
And then you scroll down a bit to the first half star, and it's just somebody going awful.
Yeah.
And then you scroll down a little bit more, and it's a 1 star saying, "What is this? Can Disney just sell Marvel and Star Wars for that matter? They have no idea how to handle these franchises."
Yeah, and see, like that review, I don't get. So, like the one from the 17th by Brick F, 4.5. Unfortunately, a lot of review bombing on Rotten Tomatoes now. Great show. Give it a chance. The animation grows on you after a while, and I will agree with that.
I agree with that, because remember, like we were saying in that first week, it was like we brought it up in the first week that the animation did grow on us a little bit, and that was like my biggest concern going in was the animation. But like it grows on you, and like it does get smoother as the season progresses.
Yeah.
Leading to that pilot theory that we're going with.
But that being said, like I get where people are, because again, realistically, it wasn't until episode, I think 6 is where I said finally I was happy with the animation, because that's when it was clear the budget was turned up all of a sudden.
Yes,
at least from what it looks like. So good. A love letter to the character spanning his entire history.
I saw another review pretty low. Let me try to find it.
Okay, this was the 13th of 4. I really like this show. It's a cool take on Spidey's early days, and having it loosely based on the MCU was fun. There's a lot more to enjoy too, like Peter's friendship and cameos from other heroes and villains. One complaint is altering classic Spider-Man characters to fit the Disney inclusivity nonsense. It's just too much, so it's unnecessary. Other than that, the show is great and suitable for kids, teens, and adults. Okay, I kind of get what they're talking about there. But again, they gave it a 4 star. They said it's a great show. It doesn't. They have other opinions of what they think should have happened. Or the solid 4 star. They are cooking.
Let's see. I had one. Hold on.
Okay, this actually seems like a very honest 2 star review. Their statement was, and it's just a short one, it's very boring. This show has a pacing problem, which in the first 5 episodes I would agree with.
Yes.
So
I'd agree with the first 3, yeah.
Because that review was done the 12th. So that would have been up through last week. So maybe they watched it, maybe they didn't. I didn't like the series. The animation style was simply horrible. Didn't Marvel see the stereotype stealing is not cool for the? Yeah, well. Again, the biggest complaint I'm seeing of the continuous pieces is more so just the animation bugged people.
Yeah, and like there is a lot of review bombing going on in here as well. So, what else? Have numbers updated for the first 3 episodes, or is that next week?
Let me look in just 1 second. This is a 1.5 star. This was from the 9th. Okay.
All right.
I always get concerned when I see a ridiculous high critics rating, but I got it a shot. I gave it a shot anyways. I got through the first episode, but that was all I could do. I'm not sure who the show is for, but the young ones with me were bored. The animation style reminded me of pre-90s comics, which was nice and different. The show, the story, and mainly the dialogue was so scripted. There was plenty of great Spider-Man shows out there. Pick one of those and watch it. As they put it, I mean that's kind of valid. The writing is a little tough in the first few episodes. Again, it's part of that whole theory.
You only watched the first episode, though.
They only watched the first episode. But again, if you're the same, being that they said that the little ones with them means that they're a parent. If their kids are bored in the first episode, you don't have time to give it a second chance.
I don't think it's made for young children, though.
Well, but this is just a honest review. I'm just trying to give you an honest opinion. This was
I
back
mean,
on the
it
9th.
isn't though because they're reviewing the entire season after only watching one episode.
They reviewed it back on the 9th, so they were reviewing at that time.
They were reviewing 5 episodes with only watching one. Debuted on the 29th. Episode
You're right.
3, 4, and 5 released on the.
I forgot that
on
it
the
didn't
6th.
really. I thought it released on the first week of February. I was like, no.
They reviewed 5 episodes after only watching one.
They reviewed when 5 episodes were out. You are correct there.
Yeah, and as we said, it gets better the more you watch it.
But I am still going to defend them if their family could not get through one. We're not interested after one episode. I understand where that parent would be coming from. Does not mean I necessarily agree with the review, but I will defend their statement where they're coming from because I get what they're talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I need this guy. Come on over. Where are you going? So I know Nelson is what normally we could pull from, but I think it's too early for that because that's still January 13th to the 19th.
Yeah, so 2 more weeks on that one.
The numbers I don't think actually have a show set for shows.
Okay.
Let's see. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's trying. Yeah, it doesn't know what that means.
Okay.
So we'll have to come back to it
on a pop culture jungle.
Yeah, because if that's going through the 19th,
it'll be in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. So if you want to add to a reminder or whatnot, we'll go back and we'll talk about how this show did. I'm really curious. It is possible the show is going to absolutely bomb in the numbers. I don't think we do though. I mean, at least our reviews are actually getting people watching. So, it means somebody actually cares about the show. Overall, I think this is a good show.
If you are a Spider-Man fan, and like one that isn't hypercritical about every adaptation of Spider-Man, where you hate everything that is in the comics because you're lame, watch the show.
I think I don't even think you have to go that far. I think if you're just even a more like casual Marvel fan, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
The criticism I was going to go into was if we're looking at shows that we have seen recently, like The Acolyte and such, it doesn't really step into the realm that those shows had problems with, which is a refreshing delight. This show was fun. The show is interesting. As much as I hate to put it this way, try to give it 6 episodes before you make a judging call on it, because the first 5 are rough.
Yeah,
they are rough.
I'd argue just the first 2.
Episode 5, you gave it a 3.5. I gave it a 3.
Okay.
Episode 4, we both gave it a 3.
Okay. I remember episode 2 being really, really good, though.
Episode 2, you gave it a 5. I gave it a 4 because I was being skeptical. 3? Episode 3, we both gave it a 4 because it slipped a little bit. I was still okay, but you weren't as hyped. Episode 4, we both said, that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll see where this goes.
Again, really high highs, really middling lows, which is a good thing. I argue. If your lows are just like middle of the road, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I was hoping for closer to a 9.
Yeah, so was I.
Because an 8.15, it's good and it's solid, but I think for the overall fan bases, it's still kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
Like it's good, but I don't know if that's going to bring enough traction for it to be a big deal. Again, this show looks like it's being done at a very costly budget, which is what's saving it right now, and that's what greenlit it for 2 more seasons. I'm hoping, being that the second half of the season we had a lot more of that better animation, except for episode 10, that's the way we're going forward with, is that better animation style and the better animation run.
Listen, man, if we have to suffer now so that we have better animation later, and like they could have gone back and polished it, but they're working on season 2 instead, I think I'd accept that.
Yeah. Because season 2 is probably next year.
I'd give it 2 years because 87 was 2 years between the two as well.
Okay.
Same with What If.
Okay.
They work on a 2-year cycle. Marvel Animation.
Gotcha. But overall, 8.15, so pretty good. Any closing remarks about the movie? Well, not movie, but the show?
No, I think we discussed it all. I loved it.
It was
solid. As I expected I would. Even if you hated it.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I made it clear after the first week and the second week, I wasn't quite sure if how this was going to go, but I would finish and be an honest reviewer about it, and I'd give it its fair share. Hence why, again, the first episode was a 3.5 for me. The second episode and third episode were 4. I was riding a little bit of a high. I was like, okay, this might be good. Then I dropped to 2 3s.
Yeah.
So it redeemed itself in my eyes.
Yeah.
The show is much better in the second half than the first half. It is a fun watch. It is a good watch. It is a hard watch at the beginning. I'm not even sure of that. It is a hard watch at the beginning. The animation and the lip sync and such is rough. Like, if us knowing that this is being done by Marvel Animation, it doesn't feel like it's being done by Marvel Animation. This feels, the first like half of this season felt like it's being done by a brand new studio who's still getting their grips on it and learning it.
Yeah.
And then the second half, besides episode 10, feel like, oh, we've now had a couple years to actually practice. Now we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And again, that just goes back to my theory that the first half of the season was a pilot.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, ideally, next season, much higher. And we will be back for that. But we're also going to be back in 2 weeks on Wednesdays for Daredevil. And that I'm hyped about. Justin is excited, but
I'm excited.
We switch sides on this next one. Like, Spider-Man I like, but Spider-Man's not one of my higher heroes. And Justin likes Daredevil, but that's not one of his higher heroes. We're switching seats. And I'm stoked. I'm excited. The Netflix series was fantastic. And the trailers we've seen, which we have reviewed here on the channel, make it look like it's going to be just as good. So be sure in 2 weeks to be back here at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Those episodes should be coming out on Tuesdays, so we should have no problem being on time to those as long as I get off work on time.
Yep.
And then be sure to always step in on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. for the Pop Culture Jungle, and every morning at 8 a.m. for a video. If you missed Pop Culture Jungle, a lot of them are being pulled from that. Tomorrow's video is going to be a supercut of the Spider-Man review. So if you watched all those, you've already seen it, but the watch hours would be nice. If you haven't watched all those, then go back and watch all those, because then you can hear us being critical the whole way through. And that's going to be like probably a 2.5 hour video or 3 hour
maybe
video.
3.
This is the longest one.
This is the longest
most time on this one, but that's because we're doing the final closing of it. No, most of them were like 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but until then, we're going to make sure that Justin goes ahead and punches us out. It's been fun, which means it's been real fun. That's an old outro, but we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye. Oh, hold on. I have to hit 2